Today I am going to discuss about awareness. Before I move into topic, anyone tell me what is awareness? Who kept you aware during the daytime? Yes, please. Who keep you aware during the daytime? Yes, your reticular activating system. Your reticular activating system right now tropically discharge some electrical activity. It will help to keep your cortex active. During the daytime, what happened? The hormone level in the reticular activating system is gradually goes down. With that, stimulation of the cortex is gradually goes down. Because of that, you may feel little bit of laziness or little bit of sleepy. You can directly stimulate your cortex by sound, by pictures, by noise, but by using that way, you can stimulate. Right now, if you feel in little bit of sleepiness, with my sound, you become aroused. That means your reticular activating system also little bit discharge there. In addition to that, your cortical can directly stimulate. When you go to sleep, actually who going to sleep? Cortex. If when you are sleeping, and forcefully open your eye, and I show beautiful girl's picture into you, can you see it? You can't. Are there anything wrong with your rod and cone cells in eye? No. Are there anything wrong with your optic nerves? No. What is actually sleeping? Your cerebral cortex or visual cortex is the one actually sleeping. When you become sleepy, the area which is responsible for sleepiness is actually cortex. Your reticular system, activating system is responsible to keep the cortex awake. During the daytime, that hormone level gradually goes down. Because of that, you have to sleep. Following day morning, you have larger amount of hormone in your reticular activating system. Your brain can easily activate. That is why morning you are fresh. At the evening, you will be little bit lethargy. The same thing happen when you are sitting for the lecture as well. At the beginning of lecture, you will be very active. Middle part of the lecture, because of the reduced amount of thalamus discharge, and you are now, even with the cortical stimulation, you can't keep awake. Latter part of the lecture, you will be sleepy. You don't know anything. After that, some of you will able to recall what I told you in the lecture. Some of you able to recall what I told at the lecture. Some of you know I did a lecture, but you can't recall. Some of the people doesn't know even I did the lecture, even though they participate in the lecture. There are people like that in our medical school. Some can explicit what they experience during the sleep. Even though they are sleepy, they can explicit. Some of them can't explicit, but they have some kind of idea. I did a lecture. Those are called implicit memory. Some of them can't even memorize with the explicit or implicit activity. During anesthesia also same thing happen. Once we give the drugs, we forcefully inhibit your cortex activity, cortical activity. Sometimes thalamocortical pathway activity in case of ketamine. Very good. You are forcefully inhibited your cortical activity. How? If you give propofol to your patient, stimulate GABA A receptors. Those are ionic channel which enhance the chloride conduction into the inside of the cells. Cell become more and more negative. Even with the external stimulus, even with the standard surgical stimulus, you can't stimulate. You don't know what happened to your patient, what happened to you. But if you are going to produce lesser amount of anesthetic agent, your cortex still may be little bit of alertness. With that, patient can feel. Sometimes some patient can feel what happened there, but they can't recall. Those are called implicit memory, implicit awareness memory. That means they can feel. Their behavior shows some abnormalities happening during the anesthesia, but they can't recall. The behavioral changes is the major one you can see in the externally. Some of them They can recall the things. Those are going to call as explicit memory. If you are not going to produce enough anesthesia, enough depth of anesthesia, your patient can show explicit memory. Following surgery, your patient can say, "Doctor, I heard you are laughing hugely. You sing a song. Show me the meaning of that Michael Jackson famous song." Patient can recall those things. Some patients behavior in the aggressive manner, psychotic manner, may be due to awareness. What is the major problem associated with awareness? Most of the patients do not show any explicit or implicit memory. They are deeply anesthetized. But few patients can show implicit or explicit site memory. What is the problem associated with awareness? Yes, please. Two major problems are there. Number one, they can develop psychological symptoms. Number one, they can develop psychological symptoms. They can have insomnia, lack of sleepiness. They can have depression, insomnia. They can show features of post-traumatic stress disorders. Post-traumatic stress disorders. This is the number one. Number two, the most important thing, they can ask for litigations. You have to pay for that patient. Sometime whole 6 months salary you have to give with the little bit of awareness. So it is very important to know the awareness, because you have to pay larger amount of money. So because of the litigation cover, you have to aware about the awareness. You have to aware about the awareness very well. So now I am going to tell who are the patients having high risk of generation of awareness. It is worth to know why. Then you can carefully attend those patients in order to reduce the awareness. Otherwise, 6 months salary means huge loss. No need to be here. You have to suicide sometime. 6 months salary is not there. So the patients who are having high risk of risk of developing awareness are patients with drug abuse. Patient factors which having high risk of having awareness are drug abuse patient. Those drug abuse patient or alcohol abuse patient can have high enzyme activity or enzyme induced activity. Because of that, our drugs can rapidly metabolize. Our anesthetic gas can rapidly metabolize or rapidly remove from the body. Your propofol can rapidly remove from the body. So those patients are high risk of having awareness. Number two, patient with thyrotoxicosis. Their enzyme also highly active. You have to give a little bit of high dose of anesthetic agent. Patient with beta blockers. If you are patient receiving beta blockers, the important clinical signs of inadequacy of anesthesia will be masked, like tachycardia, hypertension. Those can be masked. Your patient can develop hypotension because of the beta blockers. In that case, you may possibly reduce the anesthetic agent, either TIVA or either anesthetic agent. In that case, your patient can develop awareness. So, patient with beta blocker or other kind of drugs and past history of awareness. If you are having patient having past history of awareness, the risk of having awareness also very high. Last one, emergency surgery or cesarean section, lower segment cesarean section during the seizure, lower segment cesarean section under general anesthesia. Both those conditions, we are not going to give larger amount of anesthetic agent. Why? In emergency surgery, because of the bleeding, patient can develop hypotension. If you are going to give higher amount of anesthetic agent, or if you are going to deeply anesthetize your patient, their autonomic reflexes also can go down. Your patient can develop hypotension. In that case, we are going to tend to give lesser amount of anesthetic agent. Here also, because of fear of uterine relaxation, we are tend to give lesser amount of anesthetic agent. In that case, your patient can develop awareness. The patient factors are drug abuse and patient with beta blockers, patient with thyrotoxicosis, past history of awareness, emergency surgery, elective cesarean section under general anesthesia. Those patients are having high risk of developing awareness. Number 2, surgical factors. What are the surgical factors which enhance the awareness? Again, emergency surgery. Emergency surgery carries high risk of awareness. Number 2, larger amount of blood loss. If your patient has larger amount of blood loss, it removes the anesthetic agent with the lost blood. So you are going to give new blood, but we are not going to give additional anesthetic agent. In that case, your patient can develop awareness. Emergency surgery, high blood loss. Again, lower segment cesarean section and cardiac surgery. Those are the patients who are having high risk of developing awareness when coming to surgical factors. Number 3, anesthetic factors. What are the anesthetic factors which can develop awareness? Number 1, like general anesthesia. Sometimes due to hypotension, you may reduce the anesthetic agent deliberately. Sometimes you are not aware about the low anesthetic agent. At least you should have 0.8 Mac. Mac means minimum alveolar concentration of anesthetic agent in order to prevent the awareness. If you reduce into 0.6, sometimes your patient can develop awareness. So low level of anesthetic agent, light general anesthesia. Number 2, total intravenous anesthesia. When we are giving the total intravenous anesthesia, we are not going to measure the plasma concentration properly sometimes. We assume the plasma concentration by measuring the body weight. Sometimes due to pump failure or block at the venous cannular site, your patient can receive under amount of anesthetic agent. In that case your patient can develop awareness. Third one, difficult intubation. In case of difficult intubation, what happens is you are going to reduce the anesthetic agent in order to awake your patients. In that case, your patient can develop awareness. Difficult intubation. Uses of neuromuscular blockers. Uses of neuromuscular blockers. When you use the neuromuscular blockers, what happens is, even with the surgical stimulus, patient can't move their arm or limb. Why? They are paralyzed. Autonomic features will be available, but general body movement, grimacing of the face, limb movement might not be there. So uses of neuromuscular blockers also can lead to higher incidence of awareness. If you can manage with LMA and spontaneous ventilation, that patient having lesser degree of awareness when comparing to neuromuscular blocking agent used in patients. And other one is equipment failure. Equipment failure. If you have equipment failure, any one of equipment failure which are using for giving general anesthesia, it may be TEVA pump failure or anesthetic vaporizer failure, your patient can develop awareness due to reduced amount of anesthetic agent. If you found a patient with reduced amount of anesthetic agent, your patient can develop awareness. You have to look at your patients in order to identify the awareness. Now I am going to tell you about how to check, how to identify intraoperative awareness. The risk factors are patient factor, surgical factor, anesthetic factor. In the exam, if they ask what are the factors which are responsible for awareness, you have to categorize them right like this. Categorization carried higher amount of mark. Somehow you have to categorize. Sometimes you can't categorize, but somehow you have to categorize. In that case, you know what I am going to do? I am going to categorize answers which are relevant to questions, answers which are not relevant to questions. In that case, examiners can safely remove non-relevant answers. They will be happy. They will donate even little bit more mark. Don't do it in exam. Now I am going to tell you how are you going to monitor the intraoperative awareness. How are you going to catch intraoperative awareness? For that you can do equipment and clinical monitoring. Equipment and clinical monitoring. Here your clinical monitoring. What are you going to do? Look at your patients. If blood pressure goes up, it may be due to awareness, high blood pressure. It is not age specific. It may be due to some other factors, but it may be due to awareness. Heart rate, high heart rate, it may be due to awareness. Sweating, lacrimation, sometimes grimacing also. What is grimacing? They bring forehead, grimacing like this. So grimacing also may be a sign of awareness. You have to continuously monitor blood pressure, heart rate, whether your patient having sweating or not, whether your patient having lacrimation or not, whether your patient showing features of grimacing like this. Then we move into the equipment. Number 1, anesthetic, gas or agent monitor. Anesthetic agent or gas monitor. Gas analyzer. You have to carefully monitor your gas analysis in order to check whether your patient receiving adequate amount of anesthetic agent or not. Number 2, you can use forehead galvanometer. Forehead galvanometer. With the grimacing, the muscle will contract. Sometimes it may not obvious. If you are going to use galvanometer, it can show swell, muscle with the muscle contraction. So forehead galvanometer. Number 3, you can measure the esophageal motility. With the light anesthesia, esophageal motility is high. It will contract more and more. So esophageal motility. Number 3, you can do isolated forearm technique. What? Isolated forearm technique. What I am going to do is, here I mentioned neuromuscular blocker is one of the major factor which is responsible for awareness. Because of that, once I anesthetize my patient, before giving neuromuscular blocking agent, I inflate a BP cuff or blood pressure cuff here above the systolic blood pressure. Now neuromuscular blockers drug not going to your arm. So neuromuscular junction blocking is not more there in my arm. After that, during the surgery, I ask from the patient anesthetized, intubated. Even though I am asking from patients, if you feel anything, please move your arm. If your patient feel anything, they show the finger movement. They can show us the elbow movement. So likewise, you can identify whether your patient having awareness or not. In book, most of the book, this method is mentioned as gold standard. This method is mentioned as gold standard. So you can do isolated forearm technique. One arm is isolated from neuromuscular blocking agent, and you have to ask question during the anesthesia whether your patient feeling anything, whether your patient hearing anything, they can move. If your patient not moving with your voice command, that means your patient is enoughly anesthetized. You can do a special type of monitoring as well. Those are the previously available equipment monitoring. Now you can use some kind of sophisticated anesthetic monitoring. So newer or specific type monitoring. You can do the bispectral index monitoring. What? Bispectral index monitoring or BIS monitoring commonly called. We are going to measure the cortical activity. In that machine, cortical activity range from 0 to 100. 100 means you are fully alert. 0 means you die. You have to maintain somewhere between the 40 to 60. in order to achieve enough depth of anesthesia, you have to maintain BIS value somewhere around the 40 to 60. Number 2, you can use auditory evoke potential. Auditory evoke potential. Again, very similar to BIS. You put some electrode in the cerebral cortex. You speak with your patient, you talk to your patients. With that, you measure the cortical activity. Auditory evoke potential. You can do M entropy or narcotrend. Again, those are kind of neuromonitoring which can use in patient who are anesthetized in order to measure the intraoperative awareness, in order to prevent the intraoperative awareness. Accidentally, if your patient develops awareness, what you can do? Now you are in trouble. Number 1, your patient can develop psychotic symptoms. Number 2, you have to pay it some time. If your patient is good enough, they will not ask any money, but sometime they can claim from you. In that case, you have to pay for your patients. So now I am going to assess a patient who had intraoperative awareness. Before I move into that patient, before I go into that, see that patient, I should go through BST and I should go through anesthetic chart. Where is the fault? In the anesthetic chart, it shows higher blood pressures and tachycardia for certain duration of period. That period may be the period will patient develop awareness. I have to go with my consultant. I have to go with my senior consultant. Then we are going to discuss with my patients. Number 1, I have to apologize. I have to accept what he said. It can happen. Then I have to educate the patients. It can happen during the anesthesia, but it is part of our fault. We should prevent it. Then I am going to give some psychological support if necessary. Usually, you have to follow up your patient. If your patient still shows the symptom even after 3-4 weeks, you may have to consult psychiatric. You may have to consult the psychiatrist. If you want to identify whether your patient having intraoperative awareness or not, you have to check the Bryce questionnaire. What? You have to check the Bryce questionnaire. Dr. Bryce given questionnaire to patient. From that questionnaire, you can identify whether your patient having intraoperative awareness or not. Number 1, Bryce questionnaire. Number 1. What is the first thing you remember before going into anesthesia? Before going into sleep? First thing remember. Number 2. What is the worst thing you can remember? Worst thing to happen to you during the anesthesia. Worst thing. Number 3. What is the second worst thing to happen to you during the anesthesia? Second worst thing. What is the first thing you remember when you are waking? What is the first thing you remember when you are waking? Number 5. Did you dream in during the anesthesia? Did you dream in the anesthesia? By using those 5 questions, you can identify whether your patient having intraoperative awareness or not. If your patient having intraoperative awareness, you have to follow up your patient daily. If your patient still shows the psychotic symptoms even after 3 to 4 weeks, you may have to consult a psychiatric. That is all regarding the management of awareness. Shall I ask question? What is the best method of avoiding intraoperative awareness? Yes, please. Anyone? What is the best method of preventing intraoperative awareness? Very good. Avoid GA. Thank you.